Okay, so again, let me just again welcome you to our webinar today. This webinar is the first for grade 10 science and the 16th in the UP NISMED series for science. Our webinar this afternoon focuses on the third quarter topic of living things and their environment. And we hope that the webinar today will help you understand especially the storyline that connects the 4 modules of the unit and give you some practical tips for effectively facilitating the learning activities in your own classrooms. Alright, so we will have, we hope to still have with us time to also for Q&A. We have allotted about an hour for the presentation, and we hope to have time for a brief Q&A before we end up with the feedback and some wrap-up activity. All right, so right now let me just load the presentations, and as I do that, I will also introduce to you our presenters this afternoon. Okay, so I am happy to inform everyone that today's resource persons are not new to the series. You probably have already heard them present in the past webinars. They've been my co-hosts in past webinars and have also hosted a number of webinars themselves. They were also our regular resource persons in webinars that focused on living things and their environment, or the life science strand of the K-12 science curriculum. They have been resource person in the grade 7, 8, and 9 on living things and their environment, and again today in grade 10 science. All right, our first presenter is Mr. Michael Anthony Mantala. Mike is a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Biology from UP Los Baños, and before joining NISMED's biology group in 2009, he taught biology for 10 years at the Philippine Science High School, Cagayan Valley campus, and in 2 private science high schools. Mike also worked in 2 review and tutorial centers here in Metro Manila, and in his capacity as tutor has handled all science subjects. Mike served as trainer in the National Training of Trainers conducted for grades 7 through grade 10. Today, Mike will walk us through the storyline that connects the 4 modules of living things and their environment, and will present the unit overview as well as module 1. Our next presenter, who will discuss right after Mike has done his module 1 presentation, is Ms. Dulce Sebastian. Dulce is also a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Biology from the University of San Agustin in Iloilo, and holds a master's degree in biology education from UP Diliman. And before joining NISMED in 1985, she has taught biology at both high school and college levels. As science education specialist in NISMED's high school biology group, Dulce has been involved in various curriculum development, teacher professional development, and research projects. Like Mike, Dulce was a trainer in all national training of trainers conducted for grades 7 through grade 10. And in today's webinar, Dulce will guide us through Module 3, which focuses on biodiversity and evolution. So folks, please get ready. We will now begin the presentations. Alright, so let me turn you over now to Mike Mantala, who will give you an overview of Unit 3, Living Things in Their Environment, and a discussion of Module 1. Mike?
Thank you, Ma'am Sel. Okay, good afternoon, Kasama teachers. Welcome to Kasama Teachers webinar series on the K-12. This is grade 10 science with focus on the life science domain, specifically on the strands, parts and functions, and biodiversity. This presentation is adapted from materials and resources used during the grade 10 National Training of Trainers, or NTOT, held in April and May of this year here at UP NISMED. The grade 10 NTOT completes the storyline for science. As with previous NTOTs, one of the highlights this year, if not more so this year, has been the walkthrough on the storyline. How the storyline provides a narrative of concepts that are cognitively appropriate for each grade level, how these concepts are revisited in each grade level with increasing depth, and how these concepts are best taught through the inquiry approach. The activities presented during the NTOT are inquiry-based and are designed not just to showcase the teaching and learning of science through inquiry, but also, and more importantly, to provide opportunities for students to develop their inquiry skills. I hope you have with you a copy of the curriculum guide. Do all of you have a copy of the curriculum guide? Okay, so we now start with a walkthrough of the curriculum entries for grade 10, life science. It will help if you have with you right now a copy of the curriculum guide. Okay? Okay, so I'm sure you are familiar with this page in the curriculum guide for science. Looking at it again, how do you think do the concepts in life science spiral across grade levels? As with the previous grade levels, grade 10 life science has these 4 strands: parts and functions, biodiversity and evolution, heredity, and ecosystems. Okay, so we're going to look into these curriculum entries in detail in the next slides. Okay, so here are the 4 strands. Okay, so here is the strand on parts and functions. In grade 7, the focus has been on levels of organization in the human body and other organisms. Okay, and well, actually in grade 7, levels of organization did not only focus on the human body. There are actually 2 parts, okay? For module 1, that's levels of organization in the human body or in an organism. And towards the last part of the life science module, there's also a discussion there on levels of organization beyond the level of the organism, which includes, of course, levels of organizations like the community, ecosystems, and the like. Okay? So this is just for parts and functions. And then in grade 8, the focus will now zoom in on one of the organ systems. This is the digestive system. Okay? But, of course, the discussion here is not just the digestive system in isolation of the other organ systems, what we did actually in grade 8 was to relate the function of the digestive system to the functions of two other related organ systems, or make that three. These are the respiratory system, the circulatory system, and the excretory system. So for the respiratory system, there's a mention there of how gases are exchanged, okay, like oxygen being taken in and carbon dioxide being excreted out. And for the excretory system, there's also a mentioning there of how dissolved wastes are removed through the different organs that make up the urinary system, and how solid wastes are eliminated through certain other organs of the excretory system. Okay, but for grade 8, actually the focus is just on the digestive system. If I remember it correctly, during the NTOT for grade 8, I used as an analogy a theater stage. On that theater stage, the bright lights are actually focused on the digestive system, and the dim lights are focused on the three other organ systems, the respiratory, circulatory, and excretory systems. So, paano ho natin ito kinary out, ano? Dun sa mga modules, dun sa mga activities. Sa grade 8, binanggit ho doon yung mga iba't ibang bahagi, the different parts of the digestive system, and how these different parts work together to facilitate digestion of food and assimilation and absorption of nutrients. Tapos, trinak ho natin kung paano ang mga prosesong ito ay umusad sa iba't ibang bahagi ng digestive system patungo sa small intestines. Sa small intestines, nabanggit ho doon na ang small intestine natin ay merong mga iba't ibang mga strukturo rin, no? Tulad halimbawa ng villi at saka microvilli. Now, it was mentioned in that NTOT that these structures, the villi and the microvilli, are surrounded by capillaries. Okay? So, kumbaga parang dito na papasok yung relation ng circulatory system sa digestive system. Shucks. Nawala. Okay, sorry, I'm back. Do you hear me? Okay, so as I was saying, nung NTOT ng grade 8, yung kwento ho, yung storyline ng digestive system, mag-upisa ho yan kung paano nadadigest ang pagkain. Okay, kung paano yung mga nutrients galing sa pagkain ay na-absorb at na-assimilate ng iba't ibang bahagi ng digestive system patungo sa intestine. For example, sa short intestine, meron ho tayong binanggit doon na mga struktura tulad ng villi at saka microvilli na napapalibutan ng capillaries. Okay? We know, of course, that capillaries are the smallest of the blood vessels. Okay? So ano po ang role ng mga capillaries na ito? Yung mga nutrients, napakalilit po ng mga yan. At sinasabi ho natin na kailangan nilang maging maliit upang makapasok ho sila dito sa walls ng capillaries. Okay? And when they get into the capillaries, that's actually when they get distributed to the different parts of the body, okay, through the circulatory system. Okay? That's actually when these nutrients are able to reach the cells, to nourish the cells. Okay? So, ganun po natin pinag-uusapan yung storyline sa parts and functions. Okay? Pagdating po natin ng grade 9, balik ko tayo dun sa analogy natin of a theater stage. Dati, yung bright lights, nakafocus po siya on the digestive system. Dim lights, nakafocus po siya sa 3 other organ systems, the circulatory, respiratory, and excretory systems. This time, in grade 9, what happens is that the bright lights would now shift to 2 other organ systems, okay? The circulatory and respiratory systems. So, ang focus na ngayon ng grade 9, at least in terms of parts and functions, would be on the coordinated functions of the digestive system, respiratory system, and circulatory system. Except that, yung dim light ngayon, nakatutok na siya sa digestive system. Okay? So, once nutrients have entered the bloodstream and combined with oxygen, okay, that's actually when energy, okay, is now released. Energy coming from the food that we've eaten, okay, would be released and used by the organism. Okay? So, ganun po natin tinutuhog yung spiraling progression ng mga konseptos sa parts and functions. And then, of course, ang dim light, isa sa mga dim lights na nasa grade 9 ay ang role doon, regulatory role ng endocrine system at saka ng nervous system. And by the time the students get to grade 10, the bright lights would now focus on these 2 organ systems, the nervous system and the endocrine system. Okay? And of course, dealing with this organ system, we introduce to our students the concept of feedback, okay? How feedback leads to regulation of different bodily processes. Okay? Okay, I'm receiving feedback that my audio is not coming in good. Lilipat lang po ako ng unit. Okay, please bear with us for a while lang po. Okay, I'm back. Kumusta po ang audio ko this time? Better na po ba? Okay, better. Thank you. Okay, so that's the storyline for the strand heredity, inheritance. Sorry. That's the storyline for parts and functions. Okay, this time we proceed now to the storyline on heredity, inheritance, and variation. Okay, so in grade 7, the focus is on the different modes of reproduction. Okay, there's the asexual mode of reproduction and the sexual mode of reproduction. What's important here is that in our differentiation of the 2 modes of reproduction, we identify asexual reproduction as yielding offspring that are genetically identical, whereas in sexual reproduction, variation is what I mean to say is in sexual reproduction, there's variation in offspring. And from time to time, we're going to deal with variation, okay, and how variation, for example, is important in the adaptation of many species, okay, and how variation leads to diversity. Okay, but for this strand, okay, in grade 7, we actually just limited the discussion or the content on these modes of reproduction, asexual and sexual reproduction. This is not, of course, limited to just this strand, heredity, inheritance, and variation in grade 7, because in grade 7, there's this module that also deals with organisms other than plants and animals. And of course, part of the observations made in carrying out or in performing that activity has got to do or has something to do with how these organisms, the bacteria, for example, and the protists, are able to reproduce. Okay? So how do they reproduce? They reproduce asexually through budding, through binary fission, and the like. Okay? And then in grade 8, the focus would now be on the process of cell division by mitosis and meiosis. Okay? And then again, what's important here is that in meiosis, there's variation, okay, happening, okay? So nagkakaroon ho ng variation sa meiosis, which is of course not a feature of mitotic cell division. Okay? So kanina sa grade 7, ano, kung maalala ko yung experiment dito nun ay yung tungkol sa potato, okay? Kung paano yung mata, in quotation marks, ng potato ay umuusbong at nagiging isang organismo. Okay? Pero gaya nga ng nabanggit ko kanina, no, sa grade 7, meron ding binabanggit doon, may activity doon on organisms other than plants and animals. So nakikita nila dito na kapag halimbawa nag-divide itong mga unicellular organisms, actually cell division din yan na matatawag eh. Actually, hindi sila nagdi-divide na parang cell lang, ano, nakahalin tulad ng cells ng mga multicellular organisms. Nagdi-divide sila na kapag naging dalawa ang isa, yung dalawa na yon ay mga individuals na mako-consider natin. Okay? Okay. And then when they get to grade 9, that's when they deal with the structure of genes, okay, and chromosomes, and the functions that these structures perform in the transmission of traits from parents to offspring. Tapos pagdating ng grade 10, pag-uusap are visited as students move from one grade level to the next, but with increasing depth. Hindi natin binibigay lahat sa mga estudyante. Sa grade 9, structures na lang muna, okay, and their functions. And then when they get to grade 10, that's when they deal with protein synthesis, how the information from the DNA influences the synthesis of proteins, okay? And also, in grade 10, the students learn how mutations may cause changes in the structure and function of a protein. Okay, for biodiversity and evolution, I'd like to call in now Ms. Dulce.
Yes, hello, good afternoon, everyone. Is my audio okay? Okay, thank you very much, Sir Santos. Okay, now I will proceed. So, when we talk about the strand on biodiversity and evolution, in grade 7, the students learn about what are inside the bodies of different organisms. If you remember, from grades 3 to grade 6, they were just familiar with what organisms are in the community or in the nearby community. Okay, so starting from grade 7, they already learn about cells, wherein they have studied the cells in animals, which are similar to cells in humans, and these two kinds of cells in these organisms are different from those of plants. And then we have introduced the students also to other living organisms which they have not encountered yet in the early grades, like the fungi, the bacteria, and the protists. So that's what they have learned in, or what they will learn in grade 7 with regards biodiversity and evolution. And then, when they go to grade 8, they will now study specific species of organisms. So here they're going to study organisms from the simplest ones to the most complex that are present in different ecosystems. And here they learn that a species is a group of organisms that can mate with each other in order to produce fertile offsprings. And from here, they will be introduced to the hierarchical taxonomic system from the species level to the genus. Alam na natin nung nagbayo tayo, to the class, order, phylum, to the kingdom, and to the domain levels. Okay, now in grade 9, after learning about the different species, in grade 8, they will also learn that these species can become extinct. Why? Because they were not able to adapt to changes in the environment. So there you can see that species become, in the slide, that species become extinct when they fail to adapt to changes in the environment. Okay, and in grade 10, they're now going to revisit the mechanisms involved in the traits that I have inherited and the changes that result from these mechanisms. And also because they have studied extinction in grade 9, they will soon discover and see and learn about the concept of natural selection, that species which were able to adapt to the changes in the environment can survive. Okay, and examples would be the case of the birds, which have different kinds of beaks because they were able to adapt to the different kinds of food that are available to them, which leads them to the concept of variation that increases the chance of survival. So this is as far as the strand on biodiversity evolution is concerned. Now, if we go into the strand on ecosystems, also in grade 3, or from grade 3 to grade 6, at first they were introduced to the different organisms and their needs that they get or they can see in their nearby or surrounding environment. But starting grade 7, they already talk about and learn about the interactions that occur among the different levels of organization in the ecosystems. This would mean that they study about how organisms of the same kind interact with each other to form populations, and that they will learn that populations interact with other populations rather to form communities. Okay, and in this case, in grade 7, they will learn about the concept of energy transfer. Energy transfer, okay? So, and then how does this occur? This would be studied and would be understood through studying the concept of trophic levels through rather different ecological relationships. That's why for those of you who have taught grade 7, under the ecosystem strand, they learned about predation, mutualism, and the like. No? And then they end with the concepts on decomposition, which will now lead them to the concepts in grade 8 regarding energy transformation. And here, they study about food chains and food webs. No? And then also, they study also how materials are cycled in the environment. Okay. Now, if they were introduced to energy that is being transformed, that is being transferred in grades 7 and 8, they will now learn about how this energy is produced through the process of photosynthesis in grade 9. And at the same time, they are also going to learn how this energy can become available to organisms through the process of respiration. Okay. That's why in the slide you can see there the third bullet, that the processes of that explains why the students are supposed to understand how photosynthesis and respiration are related to each other. Okay. And in grade 10, and because of this, learning in grade 7, 8, and 9, all these concepts will be put together so they will be able to understand the dynamics involved in flow of energy in ecosystems that will lead to biodiversity and stability. Meaning to say, if there is a balanced ecosystem, okay, there will be the stability in that ecosystem wherein the organisms are provided with more resources for their needs like food, okay, for their survival. Okay. That's so far as concepts that students should learn or will learn in under the ecosystems strand. Okay. I would like to emphasize also the fact that when we teach in grade 10, it is also necessary that we become familiar with the different concepts that the students have taken up from grade 7 to grade 9, so that we will know also how to proceed when they are already in grade 10. And of course, we are also telling our teachers during the training that we should really be familiarized with the curriculum guide so that in the present grade level in which students are studying the different concepts, they will also be led to, they will also be ready to take up all the other concepts that will come in the higher grade levels. So I think I have to, with that, I will turn you over again to Mike for the details of the strand on parts and function. Mike?
Ma'am Dulce. There's a question here, Ma'am Dulce, from Melandro Santos. His question is, can we introduce kingdom in grade 7 like fungi and protist?
Okay. Grade 7. Okay.
Yes, Ma'am.
In grade 7, we introduce, yes. In grade 7, we introduce them as organisms belonging to other groups than to a group other than plants and animals. The terms kingdom, domain, species, order, as we used to them before, are how do you call this? Are formally introduced in grade 8 in order for us to emphasize the fact that different species belong or have characteristics that are particular to certain that are how do you call this characteristics rather fit for certain groups. That's why in grade 8 we already introduce that's why it's only in grade 8 that we introduce the term kingdom. Okay, but if your students however would like to refer to them as the kingdom fungi, I don't think there's a problem with that. Is that okay, sir? Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Ma'am Dulce. In other words, Sir Melandro, the nitty-gritty of taxonomic principles or concepts involving systematics and the like are taken up in grade 8. In grade 7, what we do is we introduce to them biodiversity without mentioning the term biodiversity by introducing students to organisms other than plants and animals. So that's how we do it actually, incorporating some of the universalizable themes in science like biodiversity without necessarily mentioning the term biodiversity. And that's starting in grade 7. Okay, sir? Okay, so we proceed. Okay, so here is the rationale for the spiral progression of concepts in the K-12 curriculum to provide challenges appropriate to the student's age and for them to gradually acquire tools for inquiry and habits of inquiry. Okay, so what do you think are these tools for inquiry and habits of inquiry? Okay, so let's have that as a quick poll. We have here a poll pod. Okay, so you can type in there your quick answer to the question. What do you think are these tools for inquiry and habits of inquiry? So what do you think are these tools that help enhance inquiry among our students and make inquiry a habit for them? So ano po kaya itong mga tools na ito na pwede hong kasangkapanin, gamitin ng ating mga mag-aaral upang mas mapag-ibayo po nila ang kanilang mga inquiry skills? Okay, someone wrote ECP. I think I'm not familiar with this. May I know po what this acronym stands for? ECP. Okay, so through the use of ICT tools and science process skills, indeed, through simulation, through asking questions, through hands-on activities, indeed. Okay, so of course, it's important that in our teaching of science through inquiry, we're able to bring our students from being just able to make a limited suggestion about, for example, what might happen, okay, to being able to make prediction based on explicit hypothesis, okay? So, kumbaga parang sinasabi natin lume-level up, no? So, importante rin that we encourage wider application in unfamiliar situations, that is from being able to plan an investigative experiment, to plan a fair test about for example, a certain phenomenon, to being able to do this, okay, when the subject is not so familiar. So meron ho tayong transfer na nakikita sa mga estudyante. And that we are also able to invite students to have more conscious awareness of their thinking process, okay, to engage in reflective inquiry, that is from finding an answer to a question, but not being able to explain it, to consciously reflecting on the thinking and reasoning in arriving at the answer. So, dun po natin ginagamit itong mga tools na ito in enhancing reflective inquiry from our students and in making inquiry a habit for them. Okay, so seeing patterns, okay, through the use of ICT, through small group investigations, indeed. Okay, so thank you so much for your feedbacks, for your short answers. Okay, so we move on. Another rationale for the spiral progression of concepts is to decongest the curriculum and provide a more in-depth approach to covering content and uncovering content ideas. Okay? So in the old curriculum, it's biology first and physics last, or physics on top and biology at the bottom. Biology is given in 1 year, all about biology in 1 year. In the old curriculum, that's given in second year high school. This time, biology concepts are introduced in 6 years, okay, in increasing depth. Okay, so here are the modules for Unit 3, Life Science, or Living Things and Their Environment. The first module is Coordinated Functions of the Nervous, Endocrine, and Reproductive Systems. As I have pointed out earlier, we are going to focus only on 2 of these modules, Coordinated Functions of the Nervous System, Endocrine System, and Reproductive System, and the other module is on biodiversity and evolution, which would be given to you later on by Ma'am Dulce. The 2 other modules in Unit 3 would be heredity, inheritance and variation, and ecosystems, biodiversity. Here are the components of the learner's material. Okay, so we have the overview, key questions, pre-assessment, activities, summary, glossary, summative assessment, and references. I hope you have with you a copy of the learner's materials so you could scan through the different components of the learner's material. Okay, so I'm going to introduce to you now Module 1, Coordinated Functions of the Nervous, Endocrine, and Reproductive Systems. Note here, of course, that the operative words in the title are coordinated functions. Okay? In grade 7, what we actually did was introduce the term interaction. Kasi most of the time, ang mga estudyante natin, ini-equate nilang interaction sa mga proseso, mga kaganapan na nakikita nila sa kanilang kapaligiran. Okay? So, technically, yung interaction ay madalas nilang nababanggit kapag halimbawa may nakikita sila ng mga organismo na naghahabulan na halimbawa ang isang organismo, ang leon, kinain niya halimbawa yung usa, mga ganun, ano? So, o kaya ang pusa, hinabol niya at kinain ang daga. So, madalas ang term na interaction ay ginagamit ng mga estudyante para i-describe itong mga proseso na ito na nakikita nila sa kanilang kapaligiran. Kaya lang, nung grade 7, in-introduce natin very gradually itong interaction na ito as also taking place between and among parts that make up a certain level of organization. For example, the different parts of the digestive system work together. Actually, that's another way of calling it, itong interaction na ito, working together. The different parts of an organ system, like the digestive system, would work together to perform the process of digestion and the assimilation and absorption of nutrients. Okay, so kahit sa levels of organization in an organism, maliwanag na po sa mga estudyante natin na may interaction na nangyayari doon. So hindi lang nakapaloob ang konsepto ng interaction sa konteksto ng ecosystem. Nakapaloob ito actually sa napakaraming aspeto ng kanilang pag-aaral ng living things and their environment. Okay? The focus of the parts and functions strand is on the coordinated functions of the nervous, endocrine, and reproductive systems. How these 3 organ systems work together. Okay? So we do not actually just tackle the nervous system independently of the 2 other organ systems, endocrine and reproductive systems. We do not tackle or cover endocrine system independently of nervous and reproductive systems. What we do is we introduce, of course, we introduce very gradually the different concepts, the different processes, the different principles that they need to learn, okay, when they get to encounter ideas concerning the nervous system, the endocrine, and the reproductive systems. But the big idea here is that they should be able to, as a takeaway, learn how these three organ systems, the nervous, endocrine, and reproductive systems, are able to work together to carry out the functions of control and regulation. Okay? Note also that this topic takes off from the other topics in parts and functions strand, okay, taken up in the previous grade levels. As pointed out earlier by Ma'am Dulce, I think it is wise that when you get to teach this part of Unit 3, you also hark back, or you also go back to previous lessons on this strand, on parts and functions that our students have taken up in the lower grade level, so you would know where they're coming from. Okay? Okay, so here are the activities for Module 1. Okay, Activity 1 is break it down. Activity 2, how fast is your reaction? Activity 3, a nervous trip. Activity 4, who's in control? Activity 5, what went wrong? And Activity 6, mark my calendar. Let's break it down. Okay, Activity 1. The objective of this activity is to identify the parts of the nervous system. So you have here a sort of a concept map. Okay, if you have with you your learner's material, it's on page 231. Under the heading Major Divisions, okay, the students are asked to identify the main components and the main divisions of the major divisions, the two major divisions of the nervous system, and the parts, okay, that make up these major divisions. What are these parts? Okay, so by the way, we're going to just focus here on Activity 3. I'm just actually making a walkthrough of the different activities, in Module 1, but our target this afternoon is just to have a walkthrough on Activity 3, okay, a nervous trip. By the way, NISMED did not write these activities, okay. DepEd had writers, okay, who worked on these activities. So okay, so that's Activity 1. Activity 2 is how fast is your reaction. I'm sure you are familiar with this. This is one of the many activities that we encounter, okay, when we talk about nervous system. It's about response time, okay? The objective of this activity is to measure the length of time of response to catch a dropped object. So, meron kang ihuhulog, pwedeng ruler yung ihuhulog mo, tapos yung dalawang daliri nung kasama niya, yung classmate niya, nakaantabay lamang doon, tapos titingnan niya, no, kung mahuhuli niya yung ruler na yon na ihuhulog. Okay, so tapos titingnan nila, no, pag i-compare nila yung left hand nila, yung right hand nila, alin ang mas mabilis ang response time, ganon. Okay? So yun po yung sa Activity 2, how fast is your reaction? We'll get to Activity 3 in a while. Let's skip. Activity 4 is titled Who's in Control? Okay. Ano po kaya ito? The objective of this activity is to identify the major endocrine glands in the human body and their functions. So there's here now a shift from the nervous system to the endocrine system. So technically, ang pinag-uusapan pa rin dito ay control, okay? Control and regulation. Whether it be nervous system activity or hormone or rather endocrine system activity, the bottom line is about their coordinated functions in terms of how they control or regulate different physiological processes taking place in the body. Okay, so the fifth activity is titled What Went Wrong? Okay, So, ano po kaya itong activity na ito ng what went wrong? Okay, does anyone have a guess? So, saang bahagi na ho kaya ito ng system natin? Ang what went wrong. The objective of this activity, if you have with you your learner's material, it's on page 205. The objective is to explain the effect of a particular hormone in the body if not properly regulated. But the context here is, of course, mga medical conditions, ano? Like, for example, goiter. Okay, if anything goes awry or wrong with any part of the endocrine system, there are certain consequences, like, for example, dwarfism, gigantism, and the like. Okay, and then the last part here. Okay, so as I was saying, the last activity is titled Mark My Calendar. And the context of this activity, of course, is a description of feedback mechanisms that are involved in regulating processes in the female reproductive system. Okay, so this is where another organ system would come in, okay, the reproductive system. So we see here how the different parts of the endocrine system work together to provide some feedback mechanisms in regulating processes, you know, in the female reproductive system. Okay, so those are the 6 activities in Module 1, okay? Coordinated functions of the nervous system and endocrine system. Okay, so we focus now our attention on the third activity, activity 3, a nervous trip. Okay, this is actually the same activity that we featured in our NTOT last summer. Okay. By the way, before we go to the activity proper, again, here's a brief background again, okay, on what, or rather on where these coordinated functions of the nervous and endocrine and reproductive systems would be coming from, okay. So it all started in grade 7 from levels of biological organization, okay, to organs of the digestive system and their interaction with other organs of the respiratory, circulatory, and excretory systems, and respiratory and circulatory systems working with other organ systems. Okay, so that's actually where this topic came from. Okay. Okay, so here again is our curriculum guide. Okay, we have here the learning competencies, okay, for Module 1, coordinated functions of the nervous, endocrine, and reproductive systems. Okay, the learners demonstrate understanding of the following: organisms as having feedback mechanisms which are coordinated by the nervous and endocrine systems, how these feedback mechanisms help the organism maintain homeostasis to reproduce and survive. And specifically, here are the learning competencies: describe the parts of the reproductive system and their functions, explain the role of hormones involved in the female and male reproductive systems, describe the feedback mechanisms involved in regulating processes in the female reproductive system, and describe how the nervous system coordinates and regulates these feedback mechanisms to maintain homeostasis. You can refer to your curriculum guide again for these learning competencies. Okay, so this is the activity 3, nervous trip. Okay, it's entitled nervous trip, and we have here as an objective that our students are able to explain how the body processes are controlled through the nervous system. Okay, so here is the procedure. There's going to be a team of 8 to 10 students, and they will compete with other groups in the class. Okay, tapos among the members of the group, students will be assigned to represent the following parts: brain, organ, sensory neurons, and motor neurons. Mabilis lang, ano, dapat banggitin natin din sa kanila, no, na yung brain ay organ din, okay, para hindi ho tayo mag-invite ng misconception. We have to clarify with our students that the brain is also an organ, and what we're referring to here as organ are the muscles, okay, those that affect or those that provide movement, okay, that would correspond to signals received by the brain. And then have the brain stand at one end of the classroom and the organ at the other end near the blackboard. Okay. Let 3 to 4 members representing sensory neurons stand and line up between the brain and the organ. And then another set of 3 to 4 members or students representing the motor neurons will stand and line up facing the sensory neurons. Okay, dito pa lang sa procedure, pwede na ho natin ito pasukan ng diskusyon. Halimbawa, bakit halimbawa dun sa brain, isa lang na tao ang involved? Ano? Sa organ, bakit isang tao lang ang nagre-represent ng organ? Bakit yung motor neurons, yung sensory neurons, napakaraming tao ang nagre-represent sa kanila? Okay? So, we do not have a lot of brain. Okay? But of course, technically speaking, what carries out or what processes these signals are the brain neurons, okay? So sila yung mga yon, and napakarami nila compared to the motor neurons and sensory neurons. So can we have, for example, 2 or 3 students representing the brain? Pwede ho nating pag-usapan yan, pwedeng maging punto yan, ano, ng diskusyon sa mga estudyante. And then organ, kailangan ba iisa lang ang magre-represent na organ? Assuming na marami tayong mga estudyante, kailangan ba na isa lang na estudyante ang magre-represent ng organ? Hindi ba pwedeng 2? Hindi ba pwedeng 3 or 4 o singdami ng mga estudyante na nagre-represent ng motor neurons at saka ng sensory neurons? Again, all those are actually opportunities for discussion para mas mapalalim pa muna natin ang diskusyon natin, even before starting with the activity, okay? By just going through the procedure, we can actually already provide a very important discussion on these topics. Okay, and then 5th, in the procedure, refer to Figure 7 on page 238 of your learner's material to see how the students will position themselves in the game. And then, of course, the teacher will show a card to the first member of the group, which is the organ. Each card will depict a situation of a stimulus affecting an organ. Ano po itong mga situation na ito? Okay, yung mga situation po nasa teacher's guide, pwede ho tayo mag-isip ng napakaraming mga situation. Okay, like for example, dun sa teacher's guide, stepping on a tack. Okay, so isang situation yon of a stimulus. Ano pa ba? Halimbawa, naiinitan ka, like when you handle, for example, a hot pan, okay? Or kung halimbawa, bumabagyo, okay? Pwedeng stimulus situation natin yan. And then, number 7, the organ must pass the message to one sensory neuron by whispering. So, you, of course, have encountered, I'm not sure, but probably you already have played message relay. Okay, so it's very similar to message relay. So there's a stimulus situation, okay, that is given to the organ. The organ passes the message to one of the sensory neurons by whispering, and then each member who receives the message must relay it to another until it reaches the last sensory neuron. Okay, and let the person, the last person in the sensory neuron group, run to the brain to communicate the message that was transmitted from the organ. For example, stepping on a tack. Excuse me. So what the brain will do is to think of a reaction to the stimulus presented and to pass this response to the motor neurons. Now, each member of the motor neuron group who receives the response from the brain relays it to another. So message relay ulit ito until it reaches the last person in the group. What will this last person in the group do? excuse me, the organ will receive this response through the motor neurons, okay, and run quickly to the board to write the response. Okay, so again dito, pwedeng i-clarify natin, ano, yung organ, siya yung nag-receive ng stimulus. And then siya rin yung pupunta sa board to write a response. Okay, so, well, during the NTOT, medyo naging diskusyon ito, ano? Kasi kung halimbawa ikaw yung organ, nabasa mo kung ano yung stimulus, eh tinakita mo na, or naproseso mo na sa isipan mo kung paano mo gagawin yung response na yon, ano, to the stimulus situation, like stepping on a track. Ikaw yung nakabasa nun, ikaw rin yung magsusulat ng response dun sa board. So, pwedeng maging issue dito ang honesty, no? Okay, so pwede nating banggitin sa mga estudyante natin na sa larong ito, maliwanag at mahalaga na ang mga bata ay mag-o-observe ng honesty. Okay? Pero I think this will be resolved if, for example, the class decides to have two students to represent organ. Okay? One receives the stimulus situation and another one writes a response of okay, to the stimulus situation on the board. Okay. Next, the team with the most acceptable answer and the shortest time of trip will win the game. Okay? So, napakasimple po ng activity nito, no? Message relay lang siya. Kaya lang sa procedure pa lang ho, napakarami ng pwedeng pag-usapan. Okay? And then, after performing the activity, here are the guide questions. Okay? How does the brain receive the information from the receptor? Paano ba nare-receive ng brain yung information? So, merong stimulus situation. The stimulus situation is received by certain receptors in the organ, and then the organ relays the signal or the message to the sensory neurons and then to the brain. Okay, so that's how the brain receives the information from the receptors. Okay, now I think a more important question to ask here is this question, or rather, can this question be answered by the activity? Masasagot po kaya ng activity ang tanong na ito? What do you think po? Masasagot po kaya ng activity after the students have performed the activity? Do you think they will be able to answer this question? How does the brain receive the information from the receptor? There's a question here from Sir Wilfredo. Can we also apply this activity in the elementary level? Are you referring to the activity, sir, by that? When you say that, sir, do you mean the activity? Yes, sir. I think you can also do this in the elementary. I'm not sure what exactly or where exactly you can use this activity. Perhaps in topics that involve organ systems and how different parts of an organ system work together. I think you can do this. Yun nga lang po, syempre, mababago yung treatment. Okay? Medyo mahihirapan sila kung babanggitin halimbawa natin mga electrical impulses. Medyo malabo pa siguro sa kanilang... ang gagawin ho natin, bababaan lang ho natin yung level. So, paano ho natin bababaan yung level? Pwede ho nating i-tone down yung mga terminologies ho natin na gagamitin. Parang ganun ho. Did I answer your question, Sir Wilfredo? Okay, sabi ni Sir Edgar, yes. Yes, of course. Masasagot ng mga bata itong question nito after performing the activity. Question 9, what does the brain do as soon as it receives the information? Nakita dun sa activity, na yung brain nagproseso siya. Okay? So, ito yung signal, stepping on attack, yung brain nag-isip siya. Okay? Pero, medyo nuance din ho ito. Kasi may mga pagkakataon na hindi ho natin kailangan na mag-deliberate sa sarili natin kung anong gagawin natin next. Kung minsan, impulsively lang yon. Parang reflex lang siya. Like, when you, for example, accidentally hold a hot pan, what you do is you automatically retrieve your hand. Okay? So, pwede ho natin iproseso na lang siya. Okay? Pwede natin iproseso ito sa mga bata. Pero, as to the question, can the students answer this question after performing the activity? Yes, I think they can. Okay, and for question 10, how is the message from the brain sent in response to the stimuli? So, naiba na, no? Stepping on attack. Yung brain hindi niya pinasa yung message as is, ano, na stepping on attack. Kumbaga parang ang ginawa ng brain, nag-isip na siya. Okay, what do you do? Well, of course, what you do is, pwede kang mapasigaw sa sakit, ano? Or something like that. Okay, that could be a response. Okay, that could be a logical response to the stimulus situation. Question 11, how will you differentiate the sensory and motor neurons based on their functions? Okay, so I think maliwanag dun sa activity na yung sensory neurons, yung signal na nakuha nila dun sa organ, okay, pinasa lang nila yon as is, ano, dun sa brain, like stepping on attack, stepping on attack, stepping on attack. And dun sa motor neurons, ang nangyari na dito is they actually carry a signal that is different to the signal passed on by the sensory neurons. Okay, so how so? Again, physiologically, medyo nuanced din ito, ano? Pero pwede natin siyang isimplify in this manner. This time, the motor neurons are relaying a message that has been the product of the thinking process that took place in the brain. Okay? And based on the simulation activity, explain how information travels in the nervous system. So again, the students would just have to recall what they actually did. Okay, there's this stimulus situation that was given to the organ. There's a receptor there. It's assumed that there's a receptor there of the stimulus situation, and then the signal or the message is passed to the sensory neurons. And this message is passed on from one sensory neuron to another or to the next and to the brain. Okay, the brain processes the information and provides a response, gives the response or sends the response to the motor neurons, and the motor neurons would pass on this response to other motor neurons down to the organ. Okay, the effector organs. Okay, like for example a muscle. Now, this is a simulation activity, and like any other simulation activity, of course, it has its drawbacks, it has its limitations. So again, perhaps what you can do is to be able to invite students to ask as many questions as they can, questions that probably are bothering them. How, for example, did all these message relay happen? Okay. Question number 13. Why does a damage in the nervous system cause paralysis of the body? Can this question be answered by the activity? Pwede siguro, no? Like for example, if anything goes alright to any part of the nervous system, the whole organ system suffers or something along that line. But of course, again, this is very specific. It's paralysis. Okay, so how is paralysis caused or affected by damage to the nervous system or to any part of the nervous system? So, pwede ho nating ibigay ito in advance to our students. So, these guide questions do not necessarily have to be given at the end of the activity. They can actually be given to the students, especially questions 13 and 14. They can actually be given to the students in advance so they can do research on it. And when the time comes that you ask these questions, like after the activity, they would have answers ready. Okay? And question 14, what public health care programs in your locality are geared towards dealing with health issues concerning the nervous system? Again, this is something that cannot be answered by the activity. Okay? I think. If ever, hardly. Okay, so again, like question number 13, the class would be better off if this question is given to the students ahead of time so they can prepare for it. Okay, so So here it is again, a summary of the coordinated functions of the nervous, endocrine, and reproductive systems, the topics, the concepts that they have to be able uh, uh, to be able to have, okay, in order for them to be able to better understand grade 10. Okay, so here are some references and electronic and online resources. I'll just have to do this very quickly. Okay, you can access these files again after the webinar. Okay, we have a recording of this webinar. Okay, so I'm going to give you now Ma'am Dulce. Ma'am Dulce?
Well, thank you, Mike.
Okay.
While we're waiting for Dulce, I would like to again remind everyone, please type any questions or comments and feedback you have on the earlier presentation. Baka mas may naiisip na kayong mga tanong ngayon, no? Na ngayon lang lumabas. Please feel free to type them on the chat pad again. All right, let's now move on to the presentation on Module 3, Biodiversity and Evolution. Dulce?
Okay, hello everyone. This is Dulce, Miss Dulce again. Okay, so earlier we talked about the different concepts that are learned in the different grade levels, from grade 7 to grade 9, even until grade 10. No? So we will revisit the concepts. In grade 7, the students will learn about biodiversity of cells in plants, animals, humans, and in other living things like bacteria, fungi, and protists. No? And in grade 8, they learn about the species from the simplest to the most complex of these species. Okay. And in grade 9, they will learn again that species or organisms that exist can change over time, even go extinct due to environmental changes. And then this will lead us to the different concepts that they will learn in grade 10. And what is good in these activities that we will discuss later, no? In biodiversity and evolution, is that they are closely related to one another. So if we take a look at the different activities that are were developed rather for this topic, okay, the first, all these 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 activities actually would help the students answer the key questions for this module. The question on how reproduction, variation, and adaptation are necessary for survival of species, and the question also of why are evidences important in the study of the origin of life. Okay, so in the first activity, which is entitled "Where Do I Belong?" Okay, this talks rather about when did particular organisms exist, kailan sila they start to appear on Earth, okay, and that's why it talks about the different eras, no? And then the students will be able to guess and to learn about organisms, particularly, for example, one organism is being placed in an era where it existed. No? Now, the next would be on what's my age. Okay, as we are talking about evidence of evolution, this talks about fossils. No? So, if you remember, there's carbon dating, there are other technologies that would help us determine, okay, the age of these fossils. So, ibig sabihin, kung ilang taon na nag-exist itong mga organisms na to, which we can find out through the fossils that we have left. Okay, for the third activity, which is the title of which is very interesting, no? Aha, analogous and homologous. If you have your learner's material with you, on page 309, there is a good explanation there of how else can evolution of organisms be traced, and this is explained by 2 or 3 paragraphs there, wherein the anatomical structures would help us trace the evolution of organisms. Okay. Now, who is my relative deals with embryonic development of organisms. Here the students will be discovering that certain organisms have the same beginnings in terms of embryonic development, but later on in their development, they would develop into different organisms. In page 312, if you have your learner's material again, you will see there a figure wherein fish, salamander, lizard, bird, cat, and humans would develop at first in this more or less would more or less have the same development, but that's in the case of stage 1. But in stage 2, medyo makikita mo na yung pagkakaiba, and then in their development, and then in stage 3, you will see there the different how do you call this, structures, or the different images of these organisms na iba na ang kanila talagang itsura. So that wherein the fish looks differently from a salamander, a lizard, a bird, a cat, and human. But in stage 1, makikita natin na halos parehas ang kanilang embryo na nakikita dyan. Okay, so how about activity 4, which we will talk about in detail later. Let's compare. Would talk about another evidence of evolution, which is through the amino acid sequence. Now this is all right, because this makes clear rather what they have learned in the module before biodiversity and evolution, because the module is heredity, inheritance, and variation, wherein they talk already about amino acids, okay, and the sequences of certain amino acids. So ito yung nakikita natin yung progression, spiral progression ng mga concepts na tinuturo even within the grade level, no? So magkaka-connect sila, at saka yung concept halimbawa ng amino acids doon na na-take up nila sa module 3 will be deepened in module 4, no? And they will study more about the amino acid sequence. Okay, in activity 5 is an activity on natural selection. Remember, in grade 10, the students are going to learn that organisms that are able to survive, that are able rather to adapt to the abrupt changes in the environment will be the ones who will be able to survive in such kind of environments. And in activity 6, here we find, ano tong title, is survivor, no? Is survivor. So, ang punto ng activity na to ay, ikaw ba ay naka-adapt sa changes, kaya nagiging survivor ka, okay? So, all these activities, as I've mentioned earlier, would really help students answer the 2 key questions for this module. Okay. If we take a look at the next slide, it presents, okay, the content standards, performance standards, and learning competency in the curriculum guide for this topic. Okay. So as we know, okay, in terms of content, so anong content niya? Biodiversity and evolution. Ano ang kailangan dapat ang content standard na nandito? The students should demonstrate an understanding of how evolution through natural selection can result in biodiversity. So, in terms of performance standards, dito naka-indicate, no, yung kakayanan dapat ng estudyante na pwede niyang gawin after studying the topic. So, the students, after studying this topic or have undergone this activity, should be able to write an essay on the importance of adaptation as a mechanism for the survival of a species. And of course, in terms of the skill that this topic should develop, nandyan yung learning competencies, dalawa ang nakalagay. So they should be able to explain how fossil records, comparative anatomy, and genetic information provide evidence for evolution. So, ang fossil records, activity 2 yata to kanina, ang comparative anatomy sa analogous, homologous structures, ang genetic information would be for this let's compare activity, no? And then, of course, they should be able already to explain the occurrence of evolution. Okay, so let's move on. So, Activity 4 in this module is entitled Let's Compare. So here are the objectives. Okay? Dito pala, sa activity na to ay mayroon na silang previous knowledge about amino acids. So, when we talk of the sequence of amino acids, dapat i-explain din natin sa mga bata na there are lots of amino acids na present na makikita sa ating katawan, hindi lang sa humans, kundi sa other organisms. No? So, this activity would zero in into cytochrome C of different vertebrates. Okay, tapos na kasi sila ng different groupings. Meron na sila kaninang sa grade 8 na dinedescribe natin na hierarchical hierarchical system, no, of classifying organisms. So, may idea na sila kung anong vertebrates na yan. Okay, and the second objective is for them to infer about the evolutionary relationship of the organisms from their differences in amino acid sequence. Okay. Now, let's take a look at the procedure. No? So, in the learner's manual, which can be found on page, starts in 3. Okay, in 299 pala, itong topic na to in the module, okay? So, the activity is on page, dahil fourth activity siya, is on page 313, okay? So, na-explain po dyan that cytochrome C is a respiratory enzyme located inside the mitochondria. So, ito ngayon, may idea na sila what a mitochondria is. Kasi nung nag-study sila ng parts of the cell, na-mention na yan dyan, and then when they studied photosynthesis, naka-zero in sila sa structure ng mitochondria. So they would have already an idea. And they would have known already in the previous module about amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins. No? Okay. So here, right. I would like also to suggest some corrections here. So in page 313, okay, step 2 should read, study carefully the sequence of the amino acid in table 1. So, they are given here table 1 on page 314, okay? So, they're going to study carefully the sequence of the amino acid, okay? Please be reminded that when students do this, they should understand that the sequence of amino acids is long, no? Marami yan sila. Pero here, we're just talking about a certain segment of that sequence. Okay, so that segment is itong sa cytochrome C. Okay. Now, what are they going to do? No? Step 3 here says, supply the missing amino acid sequence of the chimpanzee, gorilla, rhesus monkey, horse, and kangaroo to complete tables 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Actually, may correction dito. Dapat to complete tables 2 only because table 1 is the reference to complete tables 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So they will be given this table. They are going to use this to fill up the tables 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So, what are written here, okay, the THR, LEU, SER are the amino acids, mga abbreviations po nila ito, no? So, for those for those first timers who are going to use this activity, okay, most probably we can include, okay, the list of these amino acids and their abbreviations wherein we're going to give you the full names, codes of this amino acid, no? Or names rather of the amino acids. Okay. So using table 1, okay. On the next slide, you will see table 2. Okay. So here again, this table shows only amino acid sequence 87 to 96. Okay. So what the students are able should do is that they will take a look at table 1 and then take a look at or select particularly sequence 87 to 96. Okay. And then take a look at each of the amino acids that should appear here, taking it from table 1. So, nanggaling sa table 1, ano ngayon ang nandito sa chimpanzee under ng amino acid 87, sequence rather 88, 89. So, isusulat ng mga bata yan dyan. Okay? Until dito sa kangaroo. So, ipo-complete nila yan. Okay? And what do we mean when we say difference? Okay? Ang ibig pong sabihin nito ay saan at anong amino acid sila magkakaiba. Okay? If you notice in table 1 kasi meron, if you take a look for example at table 1 doon, if you holding on to the book or to the learner's material, sa column ng 87, meron to the left, may column ng vertebrates na na-mention, na pinag-aaralan, okay? Meron siyang nakalista na abbreviations ng amino acids. So, what they're just going to do is to transfer kung ano nandito sa table 1 to transfer nila sa table 2. Yun ang missing, isusupply nila na missing info dito. No? So, siguro, I hope that's clear. Okay? So, ang punto dito is, ano ang amino acid na magkakaiba for halimbawa, 2 kinds of organisms. Okay? So, ang sequence na kinover lang nito is 87 to 96. And in table 3, yung pagkasunod po, okay, sequence 97 na naman hanggang sequence 106. Okay? O 106. Right. Okay. So, but if, please take note that there is a correction here in table 3. Yung sa taas po ng human, yung first number po dyan na 91 should read 97. No? Para hindi magkamali yung mga estudyante natin. Sa table 4 naman, sequence, ano naman to? 107 at saka 116 for the same organisms. Okay? So, yun ang gagawin natin ng mga bata. Okay. Now, let's move on to table 5. Okay? Table 4 and table 5. Okay. So, table 5 is already summary, no? Ng pinagagawa nila before for tables 2, 3, and 4. Okay? But before that, okay, may mga corrections po tayo dito, no? Page 315. Okay. After Q16, ang sabi niya dyan is step 1. Hindi dapat sa step 1. That should read step 6. Okay? So, halimbawa, nagawa ng mga bata na ifilapan itong table 2, 3, and 4. They will be able now to answer Q15. Okay? Wherein they will know and they will be able to identify which organism is closely related to humans. When they answer this, makikita nyo, no? Pag na-fill up na nila ang table 2, 3, and 4, what will be the answer? May difference ba ang number ng amino acid ng humans at saka chimpanzee? Okay. Sa lahat po na yon, from table 2 to table 4, makikita nila na wala pong pagkakaiba. Okay? So, number of amino acid difference, 0. Okay? How about human and gorilla? Okay? So, if you take a look at human and gorilla, dito sa first table, wala. Table 2, wala. Table 3, wala. Pagdating ng, okay. Pagdating pala sa table 3, makikita nila na sa sequence number 104, there is a difference. sa human at saka chimpanzee. Okay? And also, between humans and rhesus monkey, may dalawa. Doon makikita nila sa sequence 87 at sa sequence 104. Dito sa human and horse, makikita nila 5 ang differences. Sequence 87, 111, 112, 114, and 116. And then, sa human and kangaroo, 7 po ang makikita nilang difference in sequence 87, 104, 109, 110, 112, 113, and 116. So, malinaw yon. Pag ginawa nila ito, one by one, i-analyze nila, makikita po nila itong differences na to, which would enable them to answer questions 15 and 16. Okay. So, next in the procedure, okay, in step 4, okay, they are asked to identify the differences using the amino acid, again, sequence of humans as reference. So, again, as against humans, no? So, complete nila ang table 5. Tapos na pala ito, no? Okay, sorry. They will go to the next. Okay, to the question. Okay, ito. Yung sinasabi natin kanina na after question 16, ang 1 na yan, on page 315, step 1 should read step 6. So they're going to study now table 6 and table 7. But there is also a correction here for the human and the horse species pairings. For the human and horse, in table 6, 12 should read as 5, and for humans and rhesus monkey, 1 should read 2. Okay? Right. Okay, so now they are dealing with tables 6 and 7. So afterwards, okay, they will be asked to graph, okay, the information that they have known and they have observed in table 6 and 7. So gagamitin na bar graph. So kaya sila may coloring pens or Crayolas na kakailangan because they use different colors to represent each pairing of species. If you notice, may pairings of species dito, human and chimpanzee, or human red bread mold, human rhesus monkey, human screwworm fly. So may pairing of species. Okay? And then they will be asked again, what organism appears to be least related to humans? Okay? And then here, on page 316, okay, ang correction dito pala ay instead of the 2 there, na step 2, that should be step 7. Okay? Okay. And then, they're supposed to answer question 17, question 18. So sa question 17, okay, they should be able, so what organism appears to be least related to humans? So makikita nila dyan, okay, bread mold, because it has 48 differences in terms of the amino acid. Okay. And then in question 18, okay, pairs of organisms that appear to be more related would be dalawa, of course, kasi pair, fruit fly and screwworm. Okay. For letter A. Okay. And then pairs which are least related to each other. Okay. Ano ang least related? They will find out na fruit fly at saka wheat. Kasi po 47 din ang difference nila sa amino acid. Okay, so I think that's the end of the activity. And then ito parang summary question ito. Ang question on Q19 and Q20. Okay, so they will be asked now. Now that they have found out about the differences of amino acid sequences of different vertebrates, okay, do you think they are asked here, would it be possible that their DNA be also similar? Okay, when we, how do you call this, had the trainees do this, we were quite thinking also na baka hindi nila masagot, ano, so they need to perhaps the teacher can assign the students also to read more on this how do you call this, specific question, because they might not be able to answer this because it is not quite shown in the activity kasi iba yung kanyang purpose. Okay, so pero ang possible na answer talaga nito ay it is possible that their similarities in amino acid may suggest similarity in their DNA sequence kasi may pumasok na ng DNA sequence. And in question 20, ganun din. Okay? So similarity also in their amino acid sequence may suggest a closer relationship of the organisms. Okay? So that's as far as this activity is concerned. So in terms of we summarize, we synthesize. So what the students learned about biodiversity and evolution strand in grade 7 is about the diversity of cells. Okay, so animals, humans, plants, and then we included the fungi, protists, and bacteria. And in grade 8, they were able to study already the different species from the simplest to the most complex. Okay, and they knew and learned about the hierarchy, yung classification of organisms from the species level to the domain level, or vice versa, from the domain level up to the species level, no? Kasi mahaba nga ang discussion yan dito sa grade 8. Okay? In grade 9, they will learn that this species also can go extinct because they are not able to adapt to their environment. Okay? And in grade 10, learners should already have realized that individual differences and variety of characteristics are important to ensure survival of species. And the presence of the advantageous and desirable traits of organisms would allow them to survive natural calamities, disaster, and other abrupt changes in the environment. So I guess that's the end of the strand on biodiversity and evolution. And here we have indicated also the references that you can use in print. These are in print. Okay. And then also more references rather, and also electronic and online sources. And we have placed here other teacher resources that you can also consult. No? NISMED actually has TV and radio program, has a radio program. Okay. We have in dzup.org 1602 in the AM band. Okay. We have radio program for teachers every Thursday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. So, pwede din po live streaming sa inyong computer or laptops sa internet, kung may internet connections kayo, kung hindi nyo makuha. Well, of course, we have other resources on TV, no, na makikita natin. Of course, we have that online community of NISMED. Ang tawag ay kasamateachers.ning.com. I think most of you na nag-attend ngayon ng webinar ay members na. And of course, this webinar also is an example. We also have in our website, may UP NISMED Agimat kami, which is source also of, ano bang meaning ng Agimat is agham.
Agham informasyon.
Agham informasyon, matematika. Okay, so ito po ang aming website. At teknolohiya. Okay. Ito ang aming website po, which you can check from time to time na kung anong mga activities namin, anong mga actually ma-offer namin as help to you while you implement the K-12 curriculum. Okay, magtulong-tulungan po tayo. And then, gusto namin i-announce, no, na mayroon kaming public lecture on the 24th of November. If you are near us, kung sa Luzon area po kayo, because we have, participants or attendees from Tarlac, Cavite, Batangas, na pumupunta po sila dito. So, later on, when you open our website, siguro in 2 weeks time, no, makita po ninyo yung aming announcement tungkol sa public lecture po na. It's on the West Philippine Sea. So, covered dito ng sa curriculum, no, ng grade, it should be in one of the grade levels from grade 7 to 10. Sa Earth Science po. Sa grade 7 or 8, Oh, nine. I'm
Pwede
not
ho
quite
dun.
sure which grade level. Yeah.
Yung lokasyon ng
Pero kasama.
Pilipinas.
Oo. Ang lokasyon ng Pilipinas is in grade 7, Mike. Oo.
There's also a mention of that po in grade 7, Earth and Space.
Grade
Okay.
7 or
Sige. So, yun ang... Oo, grade 7 or 8. Yes. And so, that's it for the
Uh,
biodiversity and evolution study. Yes, Mike.
so I think there's a question here from Wilfredo.
Yes,
Nag-log
sorry.
out na po siya, pero kung babalikan
Okay.
ho niya ito sa recording. The question is, so is there a possibility that amino acids started life on Earth, just as like one theory from NASA? And
Okay.
another question from Ma'am Celia Balbin, can Q19 and Q20 be treated as questions that students can investigate after doing activity 3?
Question
24.
19 and 20,
24 pala.
page ano?
Sorry, activity 4. Activity 4.
Not 3, no?
Yes, yes. That's why I was saying din kanina na you can assign students to read more. No? Okay. To read more.
That's in answer po to Mr. Wilfredo's question.
Yes. Okay, yes. I think, anyway, makikita niya, no? Makikita niya when
Yeah.
he tries to download na.
Actually even 2 decades ago or so, meron pong ganitong discussion about the organic soup, and then there's this
Right.
electricity, okay, that got into the equation and created the first amino acids.
Right.
Well, of course, the theory holds, that these early life forms actually came from this synthesis of amino acids. Sir Wilfredo, technically, in the realm of possibilities, of course, this one is possible, that life could have started from the early formation of
Yes.
amino acids.
Yes. Okay. Do we have more questions or other questions? Miss Celia?
So far, those are the only ones I've recorded. Except there's one at the top when I think this is still part of Mike's presentation earlier. In fact, the first question that was asked by Christine May, she asked for clarification po. Ikino-consider po bang reproduction ang fragmentation or yung regeneration? May isa po kasing book na
Regeneration.
isinama yun sa asexual
Isang
reproduction.
book.
I think when Mike was still presenting the overview of the unit,
Okay.
I think
Sa
this
reproduction
came
po.
at that time.
Well, to answer that question po, we have to go back to the definition of reproduction. If these modes of asexual, if these asexual modes lead to new organisms, then I think it can be qualified as reproduction, as in the case, for example, of a certain part of a hydra organism, like a tentacle, for example, for as long as the surrounding conditions are favorable for growth and reproduction, it would actually grow into a new organism. And in that case, that mode of asexual reproduction is technically reproduction in itself. Now, in the case of other kinds of regenerative processes, like for example, when a starfish grows another limb, I think that's not reproduction. That cannot be considered reproduction, given that the new limb does not amount to a new organism. It's just actually a new limb to the organism. So that's actually where we draw the line po between asexual division of cells as reproductive in nature and not reproductive in nature.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay.
So, we still have a few of our participants here remaining. So I'd like to again thank Dulce and Mike for being our resource persons this afternoon in our first
Likewise, Ma'am
webinar
Sel, thank you po.
on grade 10 science. Yes, so I'd like
Thank
just
you.
to ask them for some feedback about the webinar this afternoon. and just give them some additional links as well, no? And as usual, just for the information of everyone, this webinar is recorded and we will be sharing the PowerPoint presentations that have been used here by both Mike and Dulce in Kasama Teachers, as well as the link to the recording itself. All right, so let me just give you that link to the webinar feedback. Please hold on.
Typing. Just wait for them.
Okay, here it is.
Okay.
Just
Thank you, Ma'am Nelia. Yeah.
Just a while. I think I've clicked on the wrong link. Okay, there you are.
We'd like to thank you for joining us today.
Right, so from
Yeah, thank you,
the
everyone.
5 of us who host this webinar,
Okay.
John, Mona, Michael, and also Dulce, I'd like to thank everyone who participated in today's webinar. And we really
Yeah, thank
value
you,
your
everyone.
feedback, so please take the time to take the short survey. The link is right there at the top, the first link on SurveyMonkey. Just a few questions to give us an idea about how useful the webinar had been to you, and also some information, some data about how you were able to connect to us in the webinar. Again, thank you everyone for joining us and hope to see you again soon. Please visit Kasama Teachers frequently for additional announcements. Again, as Dulce has informed you earlier, there's going to be a public lecture that's open to everybody, students, teachers, the general public, on the West Philippine Sea and the Marine Science Institute, which will be given to us by a national scientist, Dr. Edgardo Gomez. So again, everyone, see you in Kasama Teachers. And please indicate on the chat once you have completed the survey. Thank you. And have a good weekend. Oh,
Yes, happy
certificate.
weekend, everyone.
We don't actually give out certificates regarding attendance to the webinar, but what you can actually do is once this recording is made available, you can capture some part of the screen that shows your name in among the attendees, or your participation in the chat interactions as well can serve as evidence of your attendance to the webinar.